said that they were going to give your daughter the choice, her name, pronouns, restroom,
Yep.
what locker
I'll
room
cover
she
that in
uses,
detail.
what sports teams, boy or girl, she wants to
It's
be
not always the
on.
teacher's
What
fault.
was your reaction when you found out that this was going on behind your back?
Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In this episode, I will be reacting to a clip here from Fox News that talks about a mother, a Florida mother of a 13-year-old daughter who was encouraged by her school to make a gender transition without ever consulting the parents. Now, folks, many of you may or may not know I'm a teacher myself. I teach high school mathematics, and I've seen this type of stuff with my own eyes. It is happening in multiple states all across the United States. This is just a continuation of the gender identity indoctrination that's taking place within our school districts all across America. It's just being brought out in the open now. Now, as always, folks, if you want to join us here at the Bald Brad Show, or heck, support a conservative, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share this link with your friends and family all over social media. With that being said, let's jump into the clip.
A Florida mother argues parental rights aren't a partisan issue. They are what's best for children. And she knows better than anyone after her transgender teen transitioned in school without her consent or knowledge. January Littlejohn is that Florida mom. She's also a mental health professional. And Vernadette Broyles is Littlejohn's attorney. They are both here to react. Good morning to you both. January, give us the backstory here. What happened to your daughter at school?
Sure. Thank you for having us. My daughter, at the height of the pandemic, expressed confusion over her sex, and this was after 3 other friends in her peer group also had suddenly started identifying as transgender. Unfortunately, this is becoming a common occurrence among teen girls especially. And once school started, about 3 weeks into school, my daughter got into the car and said, "Mom, we had a meeting and they asked me which restroom I wanted to use." So after many weeks of going back and forth with the district, because initially when I asked what happened at the meeting, they told me they cannot tell me anything about the meeting because my daughter was now protected by a non-discrimination law. But eventually we did see the transgender support plan, which was a 6-page document that they completed with my daughter that was 13 at the time, behind closed doors, where they asked her questions that would have absolutely impacted her safety, such as which restroom she preferred to use and which sex she preferred to room with on overnight field trips.
There's actually more to that,
These
by the way.
are things that parents absolutely need to be a part of. Other things in this gender support plan that you were not privy to, but the teachers said that they were going to give your daughter the choice, her name, pronouns, restroom, what locker room she uses, what sports teams, boy or girl, she wants to be on.
It's not always the teacher's fault.
What was your reaction when you found out that this was going on behind your back?
Well, I was outraged, and frankly, all parents should be outraged. And what we have found, Carly, is that this is happening all over the nation. This same protocol is in place in many, many schools across districts everywhere. And even the guides being used to dictate these transgender support plans that cut parents out even have the same language. So this is a very systematic way that parents are being excluded from important decisions occurring with their children. And further, social transition is a medical intervention that schools are grossly unqualified to be taking these steps without parental involvement.
Well, you are suing the school for violating.
So it goes on with them talking about how they're suing the school for violating the parental rights law, stuff of that nature, and it has a lawyer come in and talk about it. But I kind of want to talk about a few things on what she's talking about here in terms of the disclosure of the transitioning that's taking place within these school districts and allowing the parents to know. I've seen this firsthand, folks, in school districts that I've worked with, having school psychologists help transition that without ever notifying the parents, because at the end of the day, they say it's up to the child or the son or daughter of those parents to notify them of this transition, notify them if they're gay, of any name changes, things like that. So I'll give you my firsthand experience as a teacher. I've been trained on this, and it's not always a teacher's fault. And let me get to that. Again, it's not always a teacher's fault. They are bound by policy and can actually lose their job. So say a student is going through their transition. Now, you have to call them by the name that they want to be called. Okay, and this name can change, folks. It doesn't have to be the same name every single day. It could change throughout the day depending on how they feel and what they think that they are. Remember, they call this fluid, meaning they think they could be a male, female, then back to male, vice versa. I'm not saying this is all the cases, but it is some of the cases. So what sometimes students will do is they'll come in with a bracelet that has a certain color on it, or hairbands, or a certain shirt, certain color, something to signify what they want to be called for that day. And mind you, they don't even have to tell you their pronoun or what they want to be called, meaning like their name is legally David, but they want to be called Jessica. They don't have to tell you this. You're just expected to know. And trust me, if that doesn't make sense, I know we asked about it in the training, like the all faculty training. Furthermore, you have to call them by that name. Now, the name on what's in the school system is different than what they want to be called. The only way to change that school system name is to notify the parents. So your son or daughter might be being called a different name in the classroom than what they are being told at home or being called at home. So they're being called Jessica in the classroom. As a teacher, you are instructed by school policy to call them that name or whatever name they prefer, or else you could be fired and let go. So a lot of times I go, well, why are the teachers doing this? Well, the teachers are kind of bound in some way, shape, or form, because what are they going to do? Lose their job? Hell, I'm just there to teach math. I'm not there to guide anybody through a transition. I'm not there to do anything other than teach them the skills that they need necessary to meet the state standards and be successful in life as well as college. But they could change that. And so what scares me, obviously the whole thing that's going on with the gender identity, but what scared me as a teacher was if they found out I was conservative, and they think that conservatives hate them and all these things, which obviously we're teachers, we love you. Again, we just want to do our job and take care of everybody, is that they would go to the bathroom and change out their bracelet, their hairband, their shirt, whatever it is, and then want to be called a different name. And if you're not able to call them by the correct name, you could technically be fired for that. So they can actually screw around with you and potentially get you let go or get you pink slipped, all because you didn't call them by the correct name. This is how crazy this stuff's getting, folks. And the school will guide them along that transition. Again, they have school psychologists on site. They have departments on site that are going to help them and, again, guide them and consult them into this transition without you ever knowing. This has been going on for years. This isn't like been going on for 2 years, 3 years. This has been going on for quite some time, and parents don't have a clue. There's parents that went through, and there's kids that went through entire high school, and their parents never knew that they went through these transitions and things like that. This stuff is nuts, folks. This stuff is happening in California. It's happening in Florida. It's happening all across the United States. And you have somebody here as a teacher. First-hand account. I've shared it on ABL's radio show. I've told Brandon Tatum this story. Feel free to share this, folks. Share this video clip because it is happening. It's happening at a school near you because this stuff is rampant, folks. There's a lot of things that's happening in school districts that some of the admin aren't aware of. We talked about the drag queen dance festival thing that they did on stage where the admin said they had no idea. Some of these clubs that they're putting on campuses aren't even registered with the school. They're going incognito, meaning there's no record of it actually taking place, where you have these LGBTQ activist teachers having these kids come in for these gender clubs that, again, the parents don't know about, the admin don't know about. They're doing this incognito recruiting of gender transitioning and then going through the curriculum of how to change genders, what's the best way of doing it, talking about gender reassignment surgeries to puberty blockers to taking hormone enhancers. These are what these clubs talk about, as well as their feelings and other things. I don't want to limit this to just those ideas, but all this is to guide them through their gender transition, which now they're being sued for, and rightfully so. It is not up to the school folks to determine anything of what's taking place with your son or daughter other than giving them the curriculum that is by the state. And as far as I'm aware, none of this gender ideology, gender indoctrination stuff is within school standards. If I'm missing it, somebody link me down below because I don't believe it's Common Core standards to be able to teach the stuff that they're trying to push upon these kids, especially K through 5th grade, who could barely just learn how to read and write. And now they're trying to incorporate this non-binary stuff that me as a mathematician's having a hard time understanding. But folks, this stuff is wild. I mean, just to go a little bit over this Blaze Media article, it said, we filed a lawsuit in Massachusetts and there are lawsuits in Wisconsin, Maryland, Oregon, California. The attorney said, this is a national agenda and parents need to recognize they have a right to direct the upbringing of education, care, medical decisions, mental health decisions of their child, and they need to assert the right with their school. Folks, you can't even give your kid an aspirin on campus without asking a parental consent, let alone you're going to guide them through gender transitioning without even ever talking to the parents about it. This is how wild this stuff is, folks. And tell me, it's a little off. it is not even a little off. It is way damn off. This stuff is weird. It says in their lawsuit against Leon County School officials last October, January and her husband, Jennifer, claimed the defendants violated their fundamental rights as parents by implementing a protocol which explicitly circumvents parental notification and involvement in critical decisions affecting their child's mental, emotional, and physical health. In filing the suit, the Littlejohns are seeking injunctive relief, a discretionary judgment, and damages for violations. The school filed a motion to dismiss, and the Littlejohns filed an opposition in response. They're waiting to hear back from the judge's decision to see if this is going to go through. But folks, I just wanted to give you more examples of what's taking place in the school districts. And I've talked about this story many times on the show, so I'm glad we actually have a story here of somebody that's filed a lawsuit. It's been on Fox News that I can show all of you that is going through a very similar situation to what I've seen as a teacher. Now, what do you expect the teacher to do, folks? Do you expect the teacher to notify the parents of this and then get fired? And now they have to find another job? There's just not a litany of teaching positions out there. There's a huge demand for teachers, but it doesn't mean you're going to get the job. So I don't know. You're bound as a teacher. What am I supposed to do? I'm a conservative, mind you. I'm a Republican, registered Republican. I am not for what all this is about. 100% not for it. But what do I do? Do I speak up? Do I let the parents know what's going on and then again get fired for it? Or take the risk of being fired so I can't provide for myself and others? This puts us in a tough situation. So again, I wanted to make sure I highlight it there as a teacher, because a lot of times teachers get the rap for like, oh, you know, look at them, look what they're doing. And they kind of get wrapped up in all of this where it's like, look, whoa. I'm there just to teach, folks. I can't say this enough. I am there to help your son or daughter in their academics, not gender transitioning, not relationship advice, nothing like that. They have you for that as a parent. I'm there to help them with math. I'm there to help them with finance because that's what I teach as well. If they want to learn about finance, even within that, I say they need to go to their parents depending on what their question is, because sometimes it's better to have the parent there and determine what is right and what is wrong. Sometimes I can give them a generalized answer of certain things in terms of finance, but a lot of times, sometimes their question's so in depth where I say, hey, you have to talk to your parent about that. They're going to know better than I do because they know about your finances. They know about their finances, things like that. There's just a lot of information that I don't know. Or I say you need to consult a professional, an attorney. You need to consult ultimately a tax accountant or an accountant itself. It just depends. So I'm not there to give them advice on the stuff that we're talking here. This is nuts, folks. This is absolutely crazy. And I want you to know there's good teachers out there. I'm not saying I'm the best teacher, but there are good teachers that know what's best. And the parents at the end of the day do know what's best for their son or daughter. And I want to reveal that because, again, I think that's important with what's going on here, that there are good teachers out there. There's teachers that care. And when we get this stuff blasted all over the airwaves and the media where schools are doing this, it makes it seem like there's a ton of schools that are doing it, and there are. But you have to understand there's like 100+ faculty at each school, and not all of them, if not the vast majority of teachers, are not involved in this. You have a select few of these LGBTQ activists that are on campus that get hired. By the way, a lot of times it's easy to identify them, right? They got the buzzed heads, the colorful hair, all sorts of stuff. Their language reveals it. And this is the stuff they're doing to your son or daughter. And I don't agree with it at all. But I wanted to bring this to your attention, folks. If you ever have any questions about what's taking place in the classroom, or I heard this, is this true, Brad? Or I read this on the internet, take a look. I don't know if this is true. Has it happened? Have you heard it? Are there trainings on it? Anything you guys want to know about the education field, leave me in the comments. Again, I read all of them, and I want to know what you guys think about all this. Do you think the teachers should tell you what's going on? Or do you kind of think like, hey, man, you're in a tough situation. I get it. And I don't agree with what the school's doing. It's probably the latter. Okay. You understand teachers are in a tough situation. I would like to think, hey, you know what? The school should let you know on anything that's going on with your son or daughter in the school. You should not be in the dark on a single thing. With that being said, folks, I always appreciate your viewership. If you want to support the show, again, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and just hit the like button. And anyways, folks, heck, it takes a second. There's not much that goes into it, and it really does help me out here in allowing the channel to grow. With that being said, I will see you later here on the Bald Brad Show.